well. Perfect. So we'll go ahead and get started today with really brief introductions again, so that way our speaker today, Amber Cordova, gets to know everyone and kind of gets a feel of what kind of businesses you all have. So we'll go ahead with that, and then really briefly, if you have any questions, make sure you drop them in the chat box, as well as any comments or your contact information. I'm sure everyone has their contact information shared, but just in case. So we'll go ahead and start with introductions. Let me begin with Lupe. Looks like you're driving, but if not, we could go ahead and skip to someone else if you'd like.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. Good morning. Lupe Encinas, owner of Goodies Auto Glass. We are a small family-owned business, and we are dedicated to replacing your auto glass windshields. I'm very excited to be here with you guys today, and I will be in my office in a couple shortly, so you might see me disappear for a second.
Okay, no worries. Thank you so much. So with that, I'll go ahead and let's go ahead and go with Jimmy Rios.
Hello, everybody. Jimmy Rios with Next Level Business Concepts Group, and I help businesses in achieving what we call the blueprint for success and helping them get to the next level. I'll put my information on the chat, and glad to be here.
Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and go with Henry Alexander.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Henry Alexander. I'm the owner of Splash Mobile Wash and Detail, and I'm actually on the road as well, so you don't have any visual for me. So what we do, we take care of residential and fleet and commercial accounts, and we service the whole entire valley. And we are members, proud members of Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the Better Business Bureau as well. So I'll drop my comments on the chat bar as well.
Thank you, Henry. We'll go ahead and move with Mari Rabago.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Mari Rabago, president and owner of Mari Rabago Productions. We're a marketing agency. We tell your story. We're the bridge to the Latino community by Empowered, and we are a full-size agency, multicultural, bilingual, and we love telling the story of your companies. And we focus and specializes in social media marketing. Thank you, and glad to be here with everyone.
Thank you. We'll go with Ricardo Reina.
Good morning. My name is Ricardo Reina. I'm the owner of Reina Rebuilds. We're a small business. We sell rebuilt engines for automotive vehicles. We make our engines in Sonora, Mexico, and we import them to the U.S. And yep, nice. Good morning.
Thank you. We'll go with Brinda.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brinda Mamandi. I am the founder of XN Solutions, a performance marketing firm here in the Valley. We specialize in marketing strategy, interim CMO services, and paid advertising through channels like Google and Facebook. And I'm really excited to be here. Thanks, Eric, for even letting me know about AVANZAR.
Thank you. Next up, Carlos Rosales. You're on mute, Carlos. Okay.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Carlos Rosales. I'm the actual owner of Carlos Rosales Agency. I'm an insurance agent. So we provide insurance from, home, auto, life, retirement. So yeah, thank you for allowing us to be here.
Thank you, Carlos. Next up, Imelda Hartley.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Imelda Harley, and I'm the founder of Imelda Happy Tamales, and I'm so happy to be with you this morning. And then I'm here to learn, and then well, I started my company to sell HOF to victims of domestic violence.
Thank you, Imelda. We'll go with Luis Castro next.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Luis Castro. I'm with Process Control and Engineering. We're an automation company. You know, we're an engineering company. We mainly work with industrial companies to make their processes much more efficient and try to save them money every year. And we also work a lot with robotics too. We try to incorporate robotics into your everyday solutions and problems.
Thank you so much. Next up, I believe is Everardo.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Everardo Kimi. I'm the lead photographer and owner at Photo Fusion Studio. It's a photo studio in downtown Phoenix that has multiple photographers to help multiple clients with their specialties. So thank you very much for the chamber and everyone for putting this on. This one I'm very excited about.
Thank you. Next up, Linda Valenzuela.
Good morning, this is Linda Valenzuela, and I'm a hairstylist and makeup artist at Linda Valenzuela Salon. And I'm so excited and thankful for the Hispanic Chamber to do this, and it's helping me so much to learn and meet other people.
Thank you, Linda. Next up, Lisa. Lisa too? Okay, it looks like she's having some technical difficulties. She says, sorry, my computer's doesn't have a camera option. But thank you, Lisa, for joining in. We have two more to go. We'll go with Mabel. Mabel, can you hear us?
Good morning.
Hey, Mabel. Can you go ahead and just really briefly introduce yourself?
I'm sorry. My name is Mabel Sosi. I am Spotted Horse Info Systems, and I'm very thankful for all the business development services that you're providing, resources, and of course, networking as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think that I've gone through everyone. Everyone else on here is Christina Gonzalez. She's part of our chamber staff, as well as Lexi Aguirre, Rosa Flig, Eric McIntosh, and Angie Amarias. So welcome again. I think Evelyn, you snuck in.
Yeah,
just now.
I'm sorry about that. I was a little late to the call.
No
Hi,
worries.
good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Evelyn Vega. I'm president and owner of Staffing Strong. We are a national staffing and recruitment company, and we help companies recruit and place marketing professionals, which include creative and digital, and we also focus on engineering and human resource professionals. It's good to be here today.
Thank you, Evelyn. I think I went through everyone who's in the cohort, staff, and now I do see we have a special guest as well. Remember back in our first class, Joe Trimble presented our first presentation, so I'd like to thank him for being here and have him kind of give a little bit of remarks this morning as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Elizabeth, and hello, everyone. Love that we're still all together and supporting each other as business owners as we continue to move through this new landscape and really understand how do we continue to progress our businesses forward. And I'm excited because one of my community friends, Amber, will be leading the conversation today, and I know we'll share valuable information on how to help improve your business processes. That's what it's about. And here at Wells Fargo, we're very supportive of this initiative. So thank you to all my friends at the Arizona Hispanic Chamber for everything that you do to support these business owners. It's crucial times for them, and you all get it, and that support comes through. And Eric, I saw your ambassador meeting, so I'll give a plug for you too. It's this afternoon, everyone. So if you need that networking component, it's the perfect event to be a part of. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Elizabeth, for the opening comments.
Thank you so much. With that, I'd like to go ahead and wrap up our opening remarks. I'll go ahead and hand it off to Amber Cordova. She is with Chicano por la Causa's Préstamos team. So today we're excited to have her and talk all about getting your financial controls in place. We'll have a brief 5-minute or so break at 10. So make sure to take down some nice notes, and we'll let you know when we'll begin that break at 10. So thank you so much. And I'll stop sharing my screen and you could take it away, Amber.
Great. Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for having me today. I'm really excited to be here and get to share my morning with you guys. If you have not already answered the question in the poll about how you're currently handling your record keeping and your bookkeeping, if you guys could answer that so we can end that poll, that's really helpful to let me know who I'm talking to, so that as we're working through the process of this presentation, I can make the conversation more relevant to you guys. And then I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Oh. There we go. Okay, I'm going to end out this polling here. So it looks like the majority of people either don't have a system or it's something that they handle themselves. So I guess it's about 50-50, the rest outsourced to a bookkeeper and accounting firm. So that is useful to know. And I will share that so everybody can see the results. And then was there a second question as well, Elizabeth, that I don't know how to.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Sure.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. So this question is about how many employees you currently have. So by solopreneur, I mean that you are an entrepreneur that works by yourself. You don't have any employees. It's just you doing it all. And then second question, or the second answer, is that your family helps you out, but nobody's an actual employee. They just kind of help you out when you need help, or it's a co-joint business with a spouse or a family member. Okay. Great. Okay, so it looks like the majority of people have either just a couple of employees or no employees or family that helps them out or some 1099 contractors, but it doesn't look like we have anybody, at least that's answered yet, that has more than 5 employees. So good to know that. Okay. All right, so again, my name is Amber Cordova, and I work with Chicanos por la Causa, Prestamos CDFI. We are a certified development fiduciary institution, and what that means is that we provide mission-driven lending and access to affordable capital and no-cost business education and coaching services. And our goal is to empower our small business community, especially here in Arizona, by providing them with the tools to succeed and the access to capital that they need. I am the Director of Business Education and Consulting Services. I've been with the organization for about 5 years. I came on in the capacity to work with small businesses to help them understand record keeping, their bookkeeping systems, and here we are today, 5 years later, and running the division. So I'm very excited to get to share about what we do as well. So for today's discussion, what we're going to talk about is what financial controls actually are, some tips for getting your financial controls in place, some record keeping best practices, and we'll talk a little bit about accounting systems and record keeping systems, and then bookkeeping procedures and bookkeeping activities, really fun stuff that I know everybody's excited about. Some tips for building your business credit, and then also some accessing capital. We'll talk about the 5 C's of credit and then financial reporting requirements. I know that Joseph already went through and talked with you about this at the beginning of your classes, so we won't spend too much time there unless it's something that you guys have questions about. And I would love if throughout the process, if we're talking about something and you have questions, you have examples, or something that you want to share or ask about, you feel free to do it throughout the process. I know that these presentations can be kind of long, so it's better, I think, for us to engage in the conversation while we're on that topic instead of making you guys wait till the end. But at the end, we'll also do a Q&A session. So what are financial controls? This is a term that probably means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But the basic of financial controls is that they're the internal procedures that you have inside your organization that prevent errors, that safeguard your assets. And when we talk about assets, we're talking about anything that's an asset, like your cash that you would have in your drawers, or inventory, or intellectual property, and the corrective action that needs to come along with any kind of misuse of those assets. So some important ways that you can make sure that you're safeguarding your assets are by putting preventative measures in place. And some tips for that are including segregation of duties, adequate training to your staff, doing background checks and drug testing. Those are all examples of preventing errors. Things like random drawer checks or audits of your books, server backups, firewalls, and security or surveillance are all examples of also safeguarding your assets. So the physical assets, safeguarding those. And then disciplinary action, termination, implementing software or procedural modifications, and then new policies are examples of corrective actions that you can take in order to mitigate any of those issues that you've had. And in order to be effective, your internal controls are going to require that you consistently adhere to them. So consistency is always king. And then regular review and revising to meet the changing business needs. So that's something that's really important. A lot of times we will set a procedure in our business. We'll make decisions about how we want things to operate, but we don't take the time to go back and review whether those are effective or if those are meeting the needs of our business. And especially in the time of COVID and pandemic, it's really important for us to look at our internal controls and all the different elements of our business to make sure that we're pivoting and changing with the times so that our business can continue to grow and thrive. So when we're talking about getting our financial controls in place, the couple of tips that I have for you are to make sure that you're keeping your business and personal financials separate. This is something that you've all probably heard a million times, but you never want to commingle your business or your personal finances. If you do need to make a loan to yourself or to your business, you want to make sure that you're documenting it just the same way that you would for anybody else. Then you want to have the intention of paying that back. So make sure that from a record keeping standpoint that you're keeping all of your documents and all your ducks in a row. Conduct background checks before hiring. You're bringing somebody that you don't know, if you're bringing somebody you don't know into your business. This is really important, especially if they're going to have anything to do with finances, such as your bookkeeping, accounting, or payroll. Several of you said that you had an in-house team that handles that stuff. So you want to make sure you know who is in control of your day-to-day finances, who's signing checks or using your credit cards, or really who has access to your assets, such as inventory or any intellectual property that might give you an edge over your competitor. You also want to create monthly cash flow projections. And if your actual cash flow projections are falling short, you want to make sure that you're investigating why. So this can be, did we have less sales than we were anticipating? Or was there, did a drawer full of money or a deposit not get made? You want to make sure that you're investigating. And I would say that even more month than monthly, you want to check, especially in this time of pandemic time, you want to be doing that on a weekly basis and really looking at, are we on track to meet our targets for this month? Are we going to hit our sales goals? Are we going to hit our net profit goals? Whatever it is that you're looking at, are we hitting our sales goals? If that's not happening, then you really want to take the time to investigate why that's happening. And then you want to also make sure you're reviewing your business monthly bank statements and your credit card statements in detail. You want to take a look at them on a regular basis to make sure there's not any charges that don't belong there, or that you're not duplicated, or that, you know, there's not something that's a huge red flag. You thought you spent $100 and it was $1,000. Another recommendation that I have is that you get either get your statement sent to your personal email or your personal home address if you have somebody else that's doing your bookkeeping for you. That way you don't lose control of having those financial documents in your hands. Also, a huge recommendation is to limit authorized signers on your bank accounts. So optimally, you as the business owner would be the only signer, maybe a controller or CFO if you were to that point. Checks can definitely be prepared by somebody else, but make sure that you're the only one that's signing them. That way you can safeguard and make sure that nobody's writing any checks that they shouldn't be. And you want to make sure that there's always a matching invoice or a bill that goes along with the check. And never sign any blank checks for future use, because you have no idea what could potentially happen with that. Also, another recommendation is to periodically review the master vendor list. So if you have a list of vendors or businesses that you typically pay, you always want to kind of take a look at those every once in a while just to make sure there's not any weird new names that you're not anticipating or that you don't know about. One common way that employees can steal from a business is by creating fake vendors and paying fake bills. So you always want to make sure that you're looking at that as a financial control. If you do pay W-2 payroll, which it looks like we had a couple people that did that, you always want to make sure that you're reviewing payroll before it's submitted, or this is something that as you're growing into bringing on employees, that you make sure that all the employees on your payroll register are actual employees. There's nobody that's fictitious. That's the same as the master vendor list. You want to make sure that you're only paying employees, and it also allows you to make sure that you're not having to pay for unauthorized overtime. And then limit access to corporate credit cards, and make sure you require receipts for every purchase and require expense reports and really proper justification for expenses. You may be really tight with your budget and the way that you handle any expenses for the business, but it doesn't necessarily mean that an employee is going to. So we want to make sure that we're really keeping a tight lid on that. So record keeping is the process and procedures your business has in place for collecting and categorizing incoming cash flows, outgoing expenditures, and documenting your assets, your liabilities, and your business equity. And the IRS recommends that keeping records is important because those will help you monitor the progress of your business. They'll help you prepare financial statements, identify sources of income, keep track of your deductible expenses, keep track of your basis and property, prepare your tax returns, and support items reported on your tax returns. So basically, the record keeping is a conduit to providing you with your financial reporting, which you use to analyze your business and make sure that you are on track for your sales, understand what your net profits are, but also allows you to prepare your tax returns and keep the documentation that's necessary in order to have those supporting documents should you ever get audited or need to provide more information on your taxes. Does anybody have any questions so far, or any comments in regards to the record keeping? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the different type of record keeping systems. It looks like we have a couple people on the call, 3 that said that they had no current systems in place. 5 people were handling their bookkeeping in-house by themselves, 2 people were handling it in-house with a team, and then 8 or 9 people were outsourcing it to a third-party accountant or bookkeeper. So for those of you that are outsourcing to a third-party accountant or bookkeeper, can you tell me, if somebody wants to take themselves off of mute, how often you get information back from your bookkeeper or your accountant, or how often you meet with them?
I can answer one because I outsource to a bookkeeping company. We really, I don't speak to her very often, which I should, but we get our P&L reports and our balance sheets and whatnot every month.
Okay.
And she has access to QuickBooks, but only to the accountant access, which she can't. She can upload and pull stuff from it, but she can't make any other changes.
Okay. Okay. So now, do you meet with her once a month, or you just get your financial statements from her once a month?
I just get my financial statements once a month. We'll email back and forth if she has questions regarding what's on our credit cards or our statements or whatnot. But I don't meet with her. I probably should, right?
I would recommend, if you have somebody that's doing your books. Now, do you actually take the time to look at your statements, or do you just kind of look at your net profit at the end of the month and not really pay attention to the rest?
I'm not gonna lie. I do. I know I should be I should be better about that, about looking at those. I do, because she'll have questions on our credit card statements and our banking statements. So I'll look at it very quickly just to make sure that we're not getting overcharged by some vendors. But honestly, maybe every other month I'll look at them. Yeah, so that should be a good habit of mine to start doing that.
No, I appreciate the honesty. I know it's hard. If it makes you feel any better, my husband's business, I do the bookkeeping for him, and a lot of times we don't even sit and look at what he's spending money on. Part of it's because I just get mad at him for what he spends money on. But, it is good to look, especially in this day and age, to really make sure that you have a good handle on where you're spending your money. Is there anybody else that does or does not? I'd really like to have a conversation around this topic. So if anybody else wants to share how often that you're actually looking and reviewing your financial statements.
So Lupe, so I do keep an eye on it just because I have found mistakes that I need to make sure that I keep an eye on, just because we have so many vendors. I've found so many mistakes, and if I wait until the end of the year, when I do need to talk to my accountant to get all that stuff in, it's a pain in the butt having to recheck back. So I have learned these last couple of years to really make time to really look at all the paperwork and all the transactions and make sure I balance everything out.
That's great. Yeah.
So I can go, Brinda here. We recently just hired an accounting firm to help with this stuff. So I've spoken with her a few times in the last few months, but I know that going forward, we'll do more of a quarterly check-in. That being said, I am a solopreneur, and I am OCD about checking my income and expenses every month. In fact, I maintain a private spreadsheet as well outside of my QuickBooks. So I go in and actually look at that because I do some forecasting with regards to what I should be expecting and what I should be spending. But that's really about it. I don't get like expert advice from an accountant every month, if that's the question.
Okay, great. Does anyone else want to share how they're handling things? For those of you that aren't using an external accountant, how are you managing your bookkeeping and paying your bills? Is it just like you do with your personal finances? You kind of check your bank account and say, I have X number of dollars in my account, so I know I can write this check. Do you keep a shoebox of receipts, or do you keep it on an Excel type of sheet? Is there anybody that wants to talk about how they're doing things a little bit differently? If not, it's okay.
Hi, I would like to share. So I keep in a piece of paper all the entries of all the money that comes from the business and all the incoming and the outcoming, and then all my personal expenses, and then that way I keep tracking, like, you know, whether it was food that I ate at a restaurant, whether it was gas that I put for my vehicle, whether it were equipment for my business. And every single month I do keep a track of that in a piece of paper. But I guess I'm gonna do it more professional pretty soon.
You know what I say, and I think this goes for anything, is the most important or the best system is the one that you're going to actually use. So if that works for you, then you can keep doing that. We'll talk a little bit today about some different systems that could make things a little bit easier or also give you some additional functionality. So one thing about having it on a piece of paper is that it's fixed. You see it and that's what it is. You can't manipulate the numbers. You have to, you know, go through and do adding. Even using an Excel spreadsheet, if you're familiar with Excel, is a little bit easier. But we'll talk about some of the different record keeping systems as well that might be beneficial for you.
Yeah, thank you. One of the things that I found that it helps me is me taking a picture of receipts, because I notice it sometimes by the end of the year, some of the numbers of the records have faded. But if I have a copy of the image, then, you know, it's there, and then I can put it on my folder. That's been helping me through the whole year, because I noticed it before, you know, I was getting all my receipts, like, you know, it was fading. You can hardly read it. And really that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it sounds like regardless you're not using an online system or you're not using an electronic system, but your paper system seems to be working for you and you've adjusted it over time. And it seems like you're using it. So if that's working for you, then keep doing it. There might be some easier ways from you that we can talk about, but if that works for you, then keep doing it, because that's, you know, if you move to an online system and it's not something that you stay up with, or it's not something you want to use because you don't like it, then it's actually not going to really benefit you.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Yeah, go
I'll
ahead.
jump in and say, so one of the things I do different is, aside from hiring a new bookkeeper now to finally take over kind of that monotonous thing of the receipts, but I use the Profit First accounting system, which is a series of bank accounts that you use to separate your money. So transfers are done 2 times a month into separate bank accounts. And that way payroll money stays separate, or money that you would use for expenses or self-employment taxes all stays in separate accounts. Because I am a guilty person of seeing money in an account, either wanting to spend it or thinking that it's available. So it's a series of 5 to 7 bank accounts that you use to separate all that money.
Okay. I have used that system in the past. We had 50 employees, and it was all of our money would deposit into one, and then we would transfer it into our main operating account, the amount that we needed for bills that we were going to write, and then the amount for payroll and taxes. So that was we basically like kind of sweep type of account that way. We did have fraud that happened several times through our payroll account. And one thing is, if you only have one bank account, and maybe Joseph, I don't know if this has changed since this happened to me, but we had fraud on one of our accounts and they completely froze out the account because people were making fake checks. So I don't know if somebody just got a hold of our accounting information or a hold of a cash check, but they put a freeze and we could not use that account. We could not access any funds. So if we didn't have alternate accounts that we had money in, we would have been completely frozen out of our checking account. So that is definitely one way that you can, you know, help prevent and set up a system that, you know, can help you in case of fraud.
Great. And I'm just monitoring the chat, Amber, and I noticed a comment from Lisa. She says that I have started QuickBooks just this year. It is very difficult for me to retrain myself, but it will be a huge improvement for calculating balances at the end of the year. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now QuickBooks, it is, I think it's one of the most, if not the most user-friendly, but it's not for everybody. And there is, if you're going to do your bookkeeping yourself, I do think it's very important that you have a basic understanding of finances and understand what's going into the accounting, because it's just like everything. The data that comes in is the inputs the outputs that you get out. So when you're making decisions about how to classify things or how to use it, you need to have kind of a general understanding of accounting in order to have it really be successful. So yeah, QuickBooks is an easy one to use for some people, and for other people, especially if you don't understand accounting, it can be very complicated. There are a lot of different features. There's a couple of different ones that I was going to talk about and introduce today. Just very briefly, this is something that you guys can also research on your own, or you can reach out to me if you have questions or need some assistance with making a choice. But QuickBooks Online, and I'll just go through and kind of show you. This is the dashboard for QuickBooks for those of you that haven't ever used it before. So on the left-hand side, you've got kind of your dashboard where you can go to your banking accounts, you can create invoices, you can pay bills and track expenses, you can do payroll through QuickBooks. You can generate a lot of different types of reports. There's a very robust reporting. You can see different customer reports, contact reports. You can do all your financial reports. You can see a list of, you know, every time you've ever paid a particular vendor. There's a lot of functionality. You can also invite an accountant or a bookkeeper. So that's one of the reasons why I really like QuickBooks Online, is that it's cloud-based. You can have your account and you can give access to a bookkeeper if they're going to do your regular bookkeeping for you. And that allows you to maintain that control of seeing what's going on. You can see how often your bookkeeper's doing any kind of work. You can check your bank reconciliations. You can see any open invoices that you might have if you use it for opening or invoicing. You can see all of your expenses, so it'll track all of the different categories for you. And right on the dashboard, you can see how much you've spent in certain areas. And I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times I think what happens is we're doing our day-to-day type stuff, we're spending money when we think we need to, and then when we finally take some time to look at what we've actually spent our money on, and for some of us that might be when we do our taxes, if we don't look at our bookkeeping throughout the year. Others it might be every month, or some of us every single week, or once a quarter. But when we look at it, we realize, oh my goodness, I have spent way more money on X, Y, and Z, or how the heck are we spending so much money on office supplies? We're not the type of business that should be spending so much in office supplies. Or a lot of times, you find, shoot, I am spending a lot of money on meals and entertainment. I know I like to get my Starbucks every now and again, but when you really look at what that adds up to, $5 here or there doesn't seem like a big deal. But all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have spent $600 on Starbucks this month. That is a lot of coffee and sausage croissant sandwiches. But it gets away from you if you're not regularly looking. So that's one of the things that you definitely want to do is keep looking and keep abreast of what your financials look like. I know it's not the most fun topic in the world. A lot of people really just don't like to look at it. As long as the lights are still on, they're fine with it. But if you want to be an active participant in your business and you really want to have a good pulse on your income and your net profits, and you really want to grow your business, it is really important to be looking on a regular basis at what's happening in your financials.
Amber, can I add something to this?
Yeah.
Well, I actually use QuickBooks Online, and it's been a lifesaver because, as most of us as small entrepreneurs, most of the work is done in my business is done by me. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy schedules, but I've been disciplined to check it every end of the month. And what you're saying, it just resonated so much. I mean, I was spending, especially with staff and clients, the meals and entertainment is ridiculous. So it's something that you probably don't think about it, but when you see how much you've been spending monthly, I mean, it gets crazy. So, and it's just great because everything is there. When you showcase the dashboard for QuickBooks Online, that is like my routine to double check it and make sure I'm under control.
That is great. That is really good. That's wonderful. It's so important to regularly check. Otherwise, it does get out of control. And then also, if I asked you right now to create a budget, how would you know to do that if you don't have any financial history, if you don't have a good idea of what's going on with your business? So if you don't have those financials to look at, you don't have a dashboard to look at of where all of your expenses are, and you're trying to create a budget because you want to grow your business or you want to have more money at the end of the month to pay yourself with. If you're going to create a budget, you're kind of pulling it out of your head. Okay, well, it sounds reasonable that I would only spend $80 a month on coffee or meals and entertainment because that's all I want to spend. But when you look at what the actual numbers are, that can help you guide what your budget is. And the nice thing is you can always change how you're spending money. So if you have access to your reporting, you're regularly reviewing it, you can make a budget and you can make plans, and you can tell yourself, well, we're only going to spend this much in repairs and maintenance, or we're only going to spend this much in meals and entertainment, or whatever expenditures you have. You can set that budget for yourself and you can adjust it. And if you have that budget, you can also look at and say at the end of every month, how far off from my budget was I? Where are the issues coming in? Do I need to adjust my budget? It allows you to really maintain that control of what's happening in your business. Another record keeping system that you can use. Oh, another nice feature about QuickBooks Online as well is that there's an app. So I don't know if anybody that uses QuickBooks uses the app, but that you can automatically link all of your bank accounts in, and you basically just classify your transactions. So I've had several people that I've worked with that they say they just have absolutely no time to do any of their bookkeeping, and they let it wait till the end of the year. But having the app on our phone, instead of playing Candy Crush or war games or scrolling through Facebook when you have downtime, go ahead and classify your transactions. I know it's not the most fun thing in the world, but if you do it, take 5 minutes to do it, then you can get back to it. If you're waiting, to pick your kids up at school in line, if you're waiting at the doctor's office, waiting for a client to come, going to the bathroom and you have an extra couple minutes, it's a good way to maximize that downtime to also do your bookkeeping and keep up with it. So Xero is, it's really affordable, and you can also have unlimited users. So if you have a lot of people that need access, that's a nice feature. It also has a dashboard as well. I've never actually used and played around with this one, so I can't speak from personal experience about the ease of use, but it does have a really nice dashboard, and it is really nice for anybody who has multiple users, whereas with QuickBooks, it's typically you have to pay per user. Has anybody used this software before? Or has anybody used anything else aside from QuickBooks Online? FreshBooks is another online record keeping system that allows unlimited invoices and estimates. It also has a time tracking and expense tracking, but if you do have multiple users, it's a little bit costly. The dashboard is kind of similar on the left-hand side to having, your clients' invoices, expenses with the same way that QuickBooks does. I think it's all pretty similar, but each one just kind of has some different features. And then the last one is Wave, which is actually free of charge. So this would be a good introductory system, and I hear a lot of really great things. I've helped small businesses use it for their invoicing before. They didn't use the other features. It does also allow for payroll integrations, but there's no different scalable options. So a lot of these other record keeping systems, you can start out with a very basic system, and then over time you can add different features or upgrade to different levels as your business continues to grow and expand. Wave doesn't have that, but it is free. I know that we talked about taking pictures of receipts because over time they fade or they might get lost. So most of these have the option that you can actually take a picture or scan the receipt and upload it right to the expense. So if you like to do things that way, especially if you're using cash, I know for a fact that QuickBooks does that and Wave Accounting does that as well.
I have a question, Amber.
Yeah.
So I use Wave for the invoicing side of things, but we also have QuickBooks. I just used Wave because that was the easiest invoicing app that I was able to find, or invoicing portal. Do you think it's just better to switch it all to QuickBooks? Or because I know QuickBooks also has something like that, but I didn't see the record keeping in Wave.
Yeah, the QuickBooks will do all of your invoicing for you. You can do invoicing through QuickBooks. You can create estimates. So you can do a bid or create an estimate, then you can turn it into an invoice. When the payment comes in, you can track that payment against the invoice and it'll deposit right into your bank account. So it goes through the whole process for you, which is really nice. Also, you can use payment methodology through QuickBooks as well. So people can pay you directly from their invoice, either by electronic bank account, or they can pay you through credit cards. There is a fee for the credit card processing, and it could be something that you just negotiate into your rate. But it's all handled right in QuickBooks, and it makes it really nice and easy. I would say that, just like anything, if Wave is working for you and the system works for you, then, keep using it. But, to simplify and streamline things, you could look at using the system, the QuickBooks invoicing system, because then it's all right there. All of your history is right there. The payment is connected with the invoice. If somebody only pays a partial payment for some reason, or you're taking a deposit, if there's a chargeback that happens, if somebody, pays by credit card and they charge it back, or their check bounces, it's all connected and you can all figure it out. And you can track from the invoice all the way through the payment. And then you also have a history of what clients have paid you what. And then it also, you can do, what are my open invoices, different types of reporting as well, which can be really beneficial. So I don't know exactly what Wave does in terms of reporting, but I would say that QuickBooks does have a lot of really robust reporting.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Henry, it looks like you have your hand raised kind of physically and on the computer.
Hi. So one of the things that I like about QuickBooks, I'm always on the run, always on the vans running around. When you do your merchants, QuickBooks has the ability to merge or to synchronize your merchants with your bank account, and your bank, it'll post it. So you won't miss any deposits. A lot of times for me, I could put all my expenses, but sometimes it's much harder to put my deposits. So one of the things that QuickBooks allows you, this maybe answer some of the questions, that it just gives you the flexibility to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility.
Thanks, Henry.
And I am a QuickBooks fan. It's what I've used for a very long time. I started when it was on desktop and then into the integration to everything online. But I am always the biggest fan of systems set up in a way that people are actually going to use and stay consistent with and keep using that information to benefit their business. So while I will always say that I think QuickBooks is the easiest, whatever system you're actually going to use is going to be the most effective. So, use what's going to work for you and that you're going to keep using. That's my thing. For efficiency's sake, I think it's always easier to maximize the different features. And another nice thing about QuickBooks, and probably a lot of these other online softwares, is that they integrate with other applications. So you might have a timekeeping module that allows you to do timekeeping. So if you have employees or contractors that need to keep track of their time and bill you, those are the different types of integrations that they have. There's tons of integrations. So I'm going to be doing a class in a couple weeks, actually really diving into the different accounting softwares and the features. So I'll make sure that you guys get invited if anybody's looking for more information on a system. So any other questions about the actual physical record keeping systems? Or anybody else have any comments about how they do things that's maybe a little bit differently? Okay, good. Great conversation. I really appreciate the participation. It makes what is sometimes a very dry subject more interesting. So. Okay. So when you're establishing bookkeeping or record keeping procedures, you want to choose an accounting software. especially one that integrates with your bank and credit accounts to save you data entry time. So pretty much any one of those ones that I talked about, you can automatically link up your credit cards, your checking accounts, any accounts that you have can link up, and then once a day or once a week you can update and it'll pull in everything, and then you just spend the time classifying what you want everything to look like. So spend some time developing your chart of accounts so that your financial reports give you the information that you need. So is there anybody who can explain what a chart of account is? Does anybody know what a chart of accounts is? Okay. So your chart of accounts is basically the listing of everything that goes on in your finances. So all of the different types of income that you have. So for example, we have Linda, you have a salon. So if the different types of chart of accounts for your income accounts might be that you generate income from hair services and makeup services, but you also might make some rental if you rent out chairs. So those are the different charts of accounts for the different types of income. And when she goes to pull a financial report, it's going to show on her profit and loss statement that she made X amount of dollars on hair services, X amount of dollars on makeup services, and X amount of dollars in rental income. And that information will allow her to make choices about where she wants to spend her money in advertising, or really where she brings in the most money. So she might think, man, I am doing hair all the time. I must be making a ton of money on hair. But when she looks at her reports, she might see, actually, I make a lot more per month doing makeup than I do on hair. So maybe I want to focus on doing makeup instead of doing hair. And that's just an example that anybody can apply to their business. But when you're looking at your financial statements, those are the types of things that you want to analyze. Your chart of accounts is also going to be any expenses that you have. So you can have a profit and loss statement that shows you 5 expense categories. You can have office expenses, you can have maybe rent, and you can have meals and entertainment. And that gives you a little bit of information, and it gives you the information at the end of the day, what your net profit is. But you could also set up your chart of accounts to give you more detailed information. So for example, underneath utilities, you might want to know how much was for my electricity, how much was for my internet, how much was for my telephone, so that you can keep track of those different types of expenses and have more detail. It really depends on you as a business owner, what information you need to make decisions. You can also break down your payroll or your subcontractors to the different types of subcontracting that they do. So it allows you to have on-demand access to where you're spending your money, how much you're spending in marketing, and you can look at the different methods of marketing that you're spending, and you can also track that against what's coming in income as well. So your chart of accounts really helps you. It's just a framework for what your financial statements are going to look like. And you want to develop your chart of accounts so that it really gives the information that you need. Because within any of these, there's going to be a standard chart of accounts, and people just kind of overlook that and say it is what it is. But really spending some time developing your chart of accounts is something that's really important to do. You also want to set up an organization around storing your receipts, invoices, checks, bank statements, any of your financial documents. This can be something that you do electronically, or you can do hard copies. So some people prefer, at the end of the day, to take any receipts that they might have and stick them in a folder. Some people like to scan them. Some people like to save bills or invoices, or you might print out an invoice and write the check number on it and save it in a file for that vendor. Just set up a system that works for you. That could also be something that you want to do electronically as well. So saving them in little folders on your computer, but having a system for how you store things is really important so that you have that information available to you in the future, especially if you're getting audited for some reason.
Hey,
And also,
Amber, Evelyn, how long should we keep all that stuff? How many years?
You want to make sure that you have access for 7 years for all of your business expenses and all of your income, so that if you're audited. But one thing that I also tell people is that if you have a bank statement, always make sure you save your bank statements, because I think after, some banks after 2 years or 3 years, you might not have access to those prior bank statements. If your transactions have gone through your bank statement, then all you need is your bank statement to show that that was an expense. But if you've paid, same thing with credit card statements, if you paid something with cash and you have a receipt for it, you can staple it or scan it into the folder with that as well, so that you have that documentation. But you want to make sure that you at least keep the bank statements for 7 years, or that you're using a bank that will give you that access for that time. Did that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then lastly, and what I think is the absolute most important thing, is to create a schedule that you're going to stick to and actually stick to it. So if that means you need to do your record keeping and your bookkeeping on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, or you need to prep all of your documents to send over to your bookkeeper, pick a schedule that's going to work for you. I always recommend people do it once a week, because especially with using an app. Somebody mentioned earlier that if you wait till the end of the year and you try to figure out what the heck you did back in March, it's, you're not probably going to remember, and maybe you're not going to categorize it correctly, or you might miss some deductions that you could use, which would lower your tax liability. So at the end of the day, your financials are doing a couple things for you. One, it's showing you what money you have coming in. It's showing you what money you have going out and what your net profit is at the end of the day. It's tracking any assets that you have, any liabilities that you might have. But it's also preparing you to maximize your deductions and prepare your tax returns. So if you're not doing regular record keeping and bookkeeping and have procedures in place, and when it comes time to do taxes, you're probably going to be scrambling a little bit. And that is not a position I think probably anybody wants to be in. So create a schedule, stick to it, use it. I think we're right up on 10 o'clock. Before I go to the next slide, do we want to do, Elizabeth, the quick break?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and regroup around 10:05. It just hit 10 o'clock. So let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Wonderful. Thank you.